So, Mr. Neve, Amnesty has been looking at these issues for a long time. Can you tell us overall how Canada is doing in 2018 with regard to Indigenous rights?
Well, the report that we've put out, which is both a report card looking back at 2017 and a new agenda of recommendations looking ahead to 2018, covers 7 broad themes, both domestic and international, when it comes to human rights, Indigenous rights being one of the very important chapters. And I think it would be safe to say that it is the area where we've seen the least progress, where we're expressing the most serious levels of disappointment, and where what we've really noted is that while absolutely we've certainly seen a very important change of tone with the Trudeau government, a lot of talk of commitment to Indigenous rights, a lot of stirring and aspirational promises and speeches being made, some grand gestures. When it comes to real change, when it comes to tough decisions, that's where we're seeing a real gap.
So how does that sense of disappointment factor in when it comes specifically to the matter of the implementation of UNDRIP, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which you gave an amber grade to Canada for, I believe?
That's right. So in our 4-color grading scheme, that's actually the second highest, and it's the highest mark we gave with respect to any of the 7 recommendations from 2017 that we were assessing. And that really only changed towards the latter part of the year, because this is something that the government has been talking about for quite some time at the United Nations, in the House of Commons, in media statements, that Canada now fully embraces and endorses without reservation the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, but has been stalling and has been very unclear as to what that means in terms of implementation. So probably for much of the year, we would have been prepared to give a red or an orange grade here. It was only towards the end of the year when the government finally announced that they were prepared now to support NDP MP Romeo Saganash's private members bill, Bill C-262, regarding an implementation framework for the declaration, that we upped it to an amber grade. And now we're watching very closely in the early part of 2018 to make sure that there's follow-through.
But, I mean, to seize on that word follow-through, we've yet to actually see what the follow-through on that UNDRIP commitment is.
That's right. And how will they engage in the debate with respect to Bill C-262, which is underway right now? That bill will soon be in front of a parliamentary committee. There's already talk, including from Romeo Saganash himself, about efforts to maybe even have Bill C-262 strengthened and improved. Will the government support that? There's a lot of questions here, but at least for the first time, we're seeing some promise that this is finally going to get underway.
And lastly, there is some reference to the question of emergency access to shelters and transition homes for Indigenous women. Where would you say the area of greatest need is with regard to that in particular?
This is a very important area because, of course, we do have the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls underway right now. It's been facing challenges, as we all know. But at the same time, the government has always made it clear that just because the inquiry is underway doesn't mean that they're going to wait to take action on the things that we know are already urgent needs. And certainly the fact that there is a paucity, a real lack of emergency shelters for Indigenous women and girls throughout First Nations communities across the country, certainly for Inuit women across the north, is an ongoing concern. It's been well documented. We've been calling on Canada to address this, and we're still not seeing progress. In the federal budget in 2016, new money was allocated here, which should lead to the establishment of 5 new shelters, but we need construction and establishment of shelters well beyond that.
Mr. Neve, thank you.
Thanks for your interest.